Welcome back to On the Same Page. We are on Daf Zayin Amud Beis, 7b of Maseches Brachos. We're starting from 3 lines from the bottom of the page, in the middle of the line where we have the 2 dots. Amar le Rabbi Yitzchak le Rav Nachman. Rabbi Yitzchak said to Rav Nachman, "My time alos yimar lebekanista litzmuye." Why didn't my master Rebbe? Why didn't you come to the shul to daven? Amar le lo yachelna. He said, I wasn't able to. I was too weak. Amar le lichlefimu ma'asara v'litzli. So why don't you gather a minyan to daven with a minyan in your house? Then you don't have to go to shul. Amar le tricha li milsa. He said it's too much. Maybe it's too much to ask people to do that. Okay, so v'lema le mar l'shlucha de tzibura be'inna dematzli tzibura leisi v'lode lemar. Well, why don't you tell the shliach tzibur, the representative of the congregation, that when it's time to daven, come and tell you. At least then you could daven at the same time as the minyan. Amar le ma'ikuli hai, said to him, Rav Nachman said, what's this idea of davening at the same time? Amar le, so Rabbi Yitzchak said to Amar Rabbi Yochanan Mishum Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai. Rabbi Yochanan saying the name of Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, top of the next page. Mai dechsiv, what is the meaning of the pasuk? Va'ani sefilasi l'cha Hashem eis ratzon. David HaMelech says in Tehillim, and as for me, my tefillah should be to you at an eis ratzon, at a time of willingness, of receptiveness, that there's something called an eis ratzon, a time that tefillahs are more accepted. Well, when is that? Emasai eis ratzon. When is that eis ratzon? When is that time? B'shah she'atzibur mispal, and that's when the tzibur is davening. In other words, even though on nis tefillah, even though it's just one person's tefillah, we certainly know, says the Maharsha, from different places that the power of davening with a group, with the tzibur, but we don't know that an individual davening on his own at the same time also can tap into that eis ratzon. From here we see va'anis tefillasi, that my tefillah on my own and by myself can be as part of this eis ratzon, of this desirous time. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Chanina Amar Mehacha. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Chanina learned it from a different pasuk. Pasuk says in Yeshaya, it says, "Ko Amar Hashem," so says Hashem, "Be'eis ratzon ani sicha." At an eis ratzon, at a desirous time, I answered you, singular. So even though again it was one person davening, they were able to tap into that eis ratzon because it was a time that the minyan was davening. Rav Achab Rabbi Chanina Amar Mehacha. Rav Achab Rabbi Chanina said from here, Hein Kel Kabir V'lo Yimas. Hashem is mighty, and He won't despise. He won't despise. And there's a drasha here that Kabir, I think, could mean like the congregation, a group, a gathering. So the tefillah of the rabbim Hashem won't despise. Uksiv, and it also says, Pada b'shalom nafshi. This is a pasuk in Tehillim. It says, "You've redeemed in peace my soul. Mikrav li, from those who come upon me, those who attack me. Ki berabim hayu imadi, because because there was a rabbim with me. There was a group that davened along with me." So so here. So actually, it looks like these last psukim are bringing out this idea that the tefillah of a rabbim is extra potent. The tefillah of the public is extra potent when there's a group, and yeah, although I think the Maharsha explains the first drush is a little bit more technical. There's 2 psukim, but the second one, Pada b'shalom nafshi, again is an individual. You've redeemed my soul, as if I'm the only one davening. Why? Because kibirabim hayuimadi, because there was also public davening at the same time. Tanya nami hachi, we learned this in a brayso as well. Rabbi Nassan Omer, Rabbi Nassan says, Minayin sheng HaKadosh Baruch Hu mois b'tfilasan shel rabbim. How do we know that Hashem does not despise the public's tefillah, meaning He accepts the tefillah of a rabbim, of a congregation? Shenamar, as it says, Hein kel kabir v'lo yimas, that there's he's a mighty God, but again the kabir can imply that there's a group there, V'lo yimas, you won't despise the tefillah. Uksiv, and it also says, Pada b'shalom nafshi mikravli, that you redeemed in peace my soul from those who attacked me. And on that, the Gemara elaborates, Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Kala osek b'Torah v'nilos chasadim, anybody who is involved in Torah and chesed, u'mispali matzibur, and davens with a congregation, Ma'alani alav kilu padani li ulevanai mibenga umasalam. It's as if you redeem me and my children from amongst the nations. So it seems that here it's expressing this idea that Hashem, His Shekhinah, is with us in exile, and but it says Pada b'shalom nafshi. So the drasha views this as Hashem is speaking. Hashem says, "You've redeemed my soul. You've redeemed me from exile," or it's as if you've redeemed me from exile. B'shalom, through peace. What's shalom? What's peace? So Torah is called peace, as it says, Kol nesivoseh shalom, all its pathways are peace, and chesed obviously makes peace between people, and those. So when it says Pada b'shalom nafshi, you've redeemed with shalom my soul through Torah and chesed, you've redeemed me. Hashem says, and also with davening b'tzibur, davening with the public. That's the end of the pasuk. Ki berabim hayu imadi, because you were with me with a rabbim, with many. Okay, Amar Reish Lakish says, Kol mi sheyesh lo beis hakneses be'ira. Anyone who has a shul in their city, ve'eno nichna sham le'espala, and he doesn't enter to daven, nikra shachin ra. He's called a bad neighbor. If he has a shul right there and he doesn't use it, he doesn't come to daven in the shul, he's called a bad neighbor. Shenemar, as it says, Kamar Hashem. So says Hashem. It's a pasuk in Yirmiyah. Al kol shechenai hara'im, regarding all my evil neighbors, hanogaim b'nachala, who touch my inheritance. Asher inchalti es ami, as Yisrael, that I have given as inheritance to the Jewish people. So now the simple reading, it seems like it's talking about nations that attack us, but the drasha is that those who are nogayim b'nachal, they touch my inheritance, but they don't come in. They just touch it. They stay outside, but they don't come into the shul, which is my inheritance. The Maharsha explains again, based on this idea that the shuls are all going to end up in Eretz Yisrael. So even a shul in Chutz La'aretz is like the land of Eretz Yisrael. And so if you don't enter, you're nogayim b'nachal. You're like touching my inheritance, my land, but you're not coming in. So first of all, you're called Shechenei Arayim, you're called bad neighbors. But not only that, but you cause exile to that person and his children, because the end of the pasuk says, Shneimar hini not shameal admasam bes beis Yehuda etosh mitocham, that I will uproot them from their land, and the house of Yehuda I will uproot from amongst them. So the end of the pasuk talks about galus. Again, it seems it's either for those who are attacking the Jewish people, or maybe from amongst the Jewish people who aren't treating the land properly. But the Gemara expands it to those who touch the shul sarav and don't come in. They don't. They have a chance of having a shul, but they don't. They are called evil neighbors, and they are uprooted from the land. Amrulei Rabbi Yochanan. They said to Rabbi Yochanan, this is kind of related to the previous discussion, Ika Sabi Bivavel. Sorry, they told him Ika Sabi Bivavel. You should know, Rabbi Yochanan, there are some old men in Bavel. Now, Tamav Amar, he was bewildered by this, and he exclaimed, there could be old people in Bavel. How could that be? In Babylonia? It says, the pasuk says that you'll have long days on the land, meaning in Eretz Yisrael you could have longevity. But that you can have arichos yom, you can have longevity in Bavel. How could that be? So ala adam ksiv, ava b'chutz la'aretz lo, only in Eretz Yisrael, but not in chutz la'aretz. But kima damru lei. But once they told him mikadmi uchashli uveiknista, that the people in Bavel, we're talking about the people who get up early and leave late from the shul. They arrive early and they leave late. They spend a lot of time in the shul. So then Amar, he said, Hainu dahani lahu. That that's what's working for them. That's why they have a long life, because they spend their whole day in shul. Kidam Rabbi Yishua ben Levi, like Rabbi Yishua ben Levi told his children, Kadima b'chashichu v'ayelu b'kanista, should be early and stay till it's dark in the shul. Ki'echi d'torach u'chayis, they should have longevity. And the Maharsha explains again, because the shuls in Bavel will eventually be moved to Eretz Yisrael, and the land of the shul is like the land of Eretz Yisrael, and therefore you are subject, you receive the blessing of L'man yirbu yimechem v'nechem al ha'adamah, of longevity on the land, because you are in the land of Eretz Yisrael when you're in a shul. Amar Rav Acha Rabbi Chanina. Rav Acha Rabbi Chanina said, Ma'ikra, what is the meaning of the pasuk? Ashrei Adam Shomeali L'shakid Ad Asosa Yom Yom. Fortunate or happy is the one who listens to me, who waits or knocks on my doors each day. Lishmor mezuzos psachai, to guard the doorways of my openings. Uksiv basrei kimotzi matzachayim, because those who find me find life. So the pasuk talks about those who knock on the doors of the shul all day. I don't know, I'm not sure which god it means to knock, or but the point is the drushes, they spend time in shul. They're on they guard the doorways. They're in shul, and the next pasuk says, "Ki motzi matzachayim." Those who find me find life. So you see that there's a long life associated with spending time in shul. Amar Rav Chisda said, and this may be building on the previous pasuk it just quoted, "Lishmor mezuzos pisachai," guard the doorways of my openings. Rav Chisda said, Adam shnei psachim beis haKnesses. A person should enter 2 doorways into the shul. Now, what does that mean? Ask the Gemara. Shnei psachim sakadaydach. You enter 2 doors. Like, what does that even mean? So, ela ema. So, rather, what it means is shir shnei psachim. You should make sure to come in at least the length of 2 doorways, and then daven. Don't daven by the door. Rashi explains, if you daven by the door, then it looks like, being in shul is a burden. You're just dying to get out. So make sure you come in, make yourself at home there a bit. Establish yourself there so it doesn't look like you're dying to get out. Okay, now we quote another pasuk in Tehillim. It says, Alzos yispal kol chasid elecha le'es mitzo. Regarding this, a person should always daven le'es mitzo. That there should be a time that he finds. Finds what? Le'es mitzo. So there's going to be a number of different interpretations. Says the Gemara, Amar Rabbi Chanina, le'es mitzo zu isha. It refers to, you should daven to find a wife. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, matza isha matza tov. Pasuk says in Mishlei, it says, one who finds a woman has found goodness. So le'es mitzo is associated a finding with a wife. A person should daven to find a wife. B'ma'arava, in the west in Eretz Yisrael, kinasa v'inish itza. When a person would get married, amrile, they would say to him, hachi, the following, matzah or motze? Was it matzah or motze? What does that mean? Was it matzah? Did you find, dichsev, matzah isha matzah tov? When one finds a wife, finds good, that's the pasuk in Mishlei. Or v'yafik ratzon me'Hashem, and goodness came from Hashem. Hashem's goodwill came from him. Or motze, or was it a motze? Dichsiv motze yani marmavas isha. That's a pasuk in Koheles. It says, I find more bigger than death is a wife. So was it matzah? Was it matzah isha matzah tov? You found a good wife, or was it motze? You found a wife who was marmavas, who was more bigger than death. There's a vart they say about this, that the question really, it's a musar. They're telling the chassan, after he gets married, are you viewing this as matzah, you found your wife, or are you motze, presence, are you still looking? If you found your wife and you're not going to look elsewhere, then you'll find that it's matzah isha matzah tov, you found good. But if you're just motze, you're still finding, even though you married her, but you're still looking around at others, so then it will be marmi mavos, then it will be more bigger than death. It's a musar that they give the chassan. Okay. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Amar. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak has a different interpretation. Le'es mitzo zu misa. It refers to death. That a person should daven, when it says, back to that pasuk, that a person should daven Person should daven for death. Meaning what? For a good death, for a pleasant death. That when they die, it should be pleasant. Right? It's a funny thing to daven for because a person is always davening that they don't die. But everybody dies eventually. So the Gemara is telling us we should daven that we should have, when it's time to die, it should be a pleasant death. Shenemar, as it says, Lamavis Totsaos. So it says in Tehillim it says that Elokim, Hashem, our master, Lamavis Totsaos, brings deathly outcomes, I guess you could say. But Totsaos is the same root as outcomes, findings. Again, that same root as mitzvah. So le'es mitzvah would be to daven for a pleasant death. Tagi nami hachi. We learned in a brisa that this pasuk refers to different kinds of deaths. It says Teisha me'os u'shlosha minei misa nivru ba'olam. There are 903 different types of deaths. Shnamar la'mavis totsaos, because it says for deaths totsaos, and totsaos b'gematria hachiyavu. The gematria, the word totsaos, is 903. And so it also means outcomes. So there's 903 outcomes of death. Kasha shebekul askara. The most difficult one is something called askara, which is some kind of strangulation. Nicha shebekul nishika, and the most pleasant is nishika, the kiss of death, kiss from Hashem. Askara damya kechizra begavva de'amra de'lachori nashra. The death of askara is like a thorn in the in a wool in I guess the sheep's wool that's pulled out. So it's tangled and you pull it out, it just rips all the hair out. It's very painful. That's what askara is like. And Vikadamri kipiture befi veshet, and some say it's like a rope in the esophagus, which I don't know exactly what that's supposed to be like, but sounds unpleasant. Nishika damya kemishcha benisa bechava. The death of nishika, of a kiss, which is the most pleasant, is like a hair that's pulled out of milk. It comes out very smooth. Rabbi Yochanan Amar le'es mitzvah zu kvura. Rabbi Yochanan says that le'es mitzvah, a person should daven le'es mitzvah, that refers to kvura, to burial. That they should merit to be buried. Amar Rav Chanina. Rav Chanina says, where do we see that kvura that mitzvah relates to kvura, relates to burial? Ma'ikra, what is the meaning of the pasuk? In Eov it says, Hasmechim elai gil yasisu kimtzu kever. So it says yasisu kimtzu kever. They should rejoice in finding a grave. So it's a finding. To find a grave is associated with finding. Amar Rabba Barav Shila Hainu Damri Inchi. This is kind of brings out what people say. We buy inish rachmi afilad zipula basraisa shama. Person should daven until the very last clump of dirt has been placed upon them. In other words, a person can't daven once they're dead. But a person should daven not only, as we said, for a pleasant death, but they should daven for burial. Daven that for that very last clump of dirt to be put upon them. Mar Zutra says, "Le'es mitzvah zeh beis hakisei." A person should daven. Always have access to a bathroom, which we take more for granted nowadays. Was not taken for granted in those days. Amri b'ma'arava, and they say in the west in Eretz Yisrael, Hada Mar Zutra adifo mikulu. Mar Zutra's pshar is the best. That le'es mitzvah refers to being able to find a bathroom, to live somewhere where there's a bathroom nearby. The Gemara doesn't explain what this has to do with le'es mitzvah. So some say that the word mitzvah in certain places in Tanakh is associated with excreting. I saw the Maharsha though says it's actually from the continuation of that pasuk. The pasuk there continues, and it says, a person should daven le'es mitzo, rak l'shetef mayim rabim elav lo yagiu. It references something about that it's that rush of water shouldn't reach them. So the drasha here is saying that a person shouldn't have a rush of water without having access to a bathroom. Okay. Again, it's something that maybe we take for granted, but it's something the person should daven for, that they always have access and are spared the discomfort and embarrassment. Really, as a person ages, also a person can lose their abilities to get themselves to a bathroom, and a person when they're younger can daven that they should always have that ability. Amar le Rava l'Rafram bar Papa. Rava said to Rafram bar Papa, Lema lan mar mehani mili ma'al yasad amart mishmei Rav Chisda b'mili de bekanista. Tell us something that Rav Chisda would say, something beautiful that Rav Chisda would say with regards to a shul. Amar le, so he said to him, Hachi amar Rav Chisda. So said Rav Chisda, Mai dichsiv. What does it mean when the pasuk says in Tehillim? It says, Oev Hashem sharei tziyom mikol mishkenos Yaakov. Hashem loves the gates of Zion more than all the dwellings of Yaakov. What is the drush on that? Oev Hashem sha'arham mitzuyanim ba'alacha. The sharei Tzion, Zion, can also is related to the word mitzuyan. It's excellent and expert. So Hashem loves the gates of those who are experts in halacha, Yosrim Bati Knesios and Bati Midrashos, more than the shuls and the Bati Medrash. Shuls and Bati Medrash, they learn Torah there, but they don't necessarily have the scholars who are coming to the Salak Shmaitz Alibah de Hilchos, arriving at the proper halacha conclusions. That's the type of, that's the most desired. That's where the Shechina dwells. And that's what Reb Chia bar Ami said in the name of Ula, Yom Shechar Beis HaMikdash, from the day the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, Kadosh Baruch Hu was placed in the world is within the 4 amos of halacha, the 4 cubits of halacha. And the Maharsha explains that the Sanhedrin used to be, the Lishkas HaGazis, the gathering place of the Sanhedrin was adjacent to the Beis HaMikdash, where the Shechina was. It was part of bringing the Shechina there. Those were the experts in halacha. And so after the Beis HaMikdash is destroyed, the place where the Shechina is to be found is, again, many places, but one of the places that we have a strong expression here, that Kadosh Baruch Hu was only found, is in the 4 amos of halacha, in the place where we arrive at the proper halacha conclusions. In those places of learning where they are arriving at the halacha, the proper halacha conclusion. Ve'amar Abaye, and Abaye said, Mereish habakarisna begav beisa umatzlina bebekanista. I used to learn in my house and daven in the shul. But once I heard this statement of Reb Chia bar Ami in the name of Ula, that from the day the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, Kadosh Baruch Hu was placed in the world as within the 4 amos of halacha. So then I would daven where I learned, because if the Shechina comes to the place where they conclude the halacha, where the halacha is, so then that's where you should daven. That's the best place to daven, where you're learning halacha. So Abaye said, I started to daven in the place where I learned. Rabbi Ami, Rabbi Yasi, even though they had 13 shuls in Tiberia, they davened between the pillars of the building that they would learn in. In other words, they davened in the place that they learned. V'amar Rabbi Chia bar Ami mishmei de Ula, and Rabbi Chia bar Ami said in the name of Ula, Gadol hanena miyagio or miyagia kapo yosher mirei shamayim. It's greater that which is said about a person who benefits from their own toil than somebody who is God-fearing. Diu gabe yirei shamayim, because with regards to someone who is God-fearing, it says Ashrei ish yireis Hashem. Fortunate is the man, or happy is the man who is a fearer of Hashem. Praiseworthy, you could say. But with regards to someone who benefits from their handiwork, from their toil, it says yagia kapecha ki tochal. By the toil of your hand you will eat. Ashrecha v'tovlach. You're praised and it's good for you. What's the two things? Ashrecha v'tovlach. Ashrecha b'olam hazeh. You're praised in this world. V'tovlach elam haba. And it's good for you in the next world. L'gabi yirei shamayim v'tovlach lo ksibeh. But for one who fears heaven, it doesn't say v'tovlach that it's good for you in the next world. So better off is one who eats from the toil of their hand than somebody who is a yirei shamayim, who has fear of heaven. What is this supposed to mean? So the Maharsha explains beautifully. We don't mean that it's better, a person working is more important than being a yirei shamayim, than fearing Hashem. No, you need both really. The idea is that if somebody is a yirei shamayim, somebody who fears heaven, and they don't rely on heavenly gifts to be able to survive, so then they have more schar in the world to come. But if they do rely on heavenly gifts, that takes away from their toil, from their reward in the world to come. So it's best to be a yirei shamayim and to eat from your own toil, then from your own handiwork. Then you don't lose out on a share in the world to come, and then it will be ashrecha b'olam hazeh. You'll be rewarded in this world. You'll be fortunate in this world, and tovach olam haba. You'll still have your reward waiting for you in the next world, as opposed to someone who has to rely on heavenly gifts to survive in this world. Then they lose out some of their portion in the world to come. V'amar Rabbi Chiya bar Ami mishmei de'ula, and Rabbi Chiya bar Ami sang in the name of Ula, le'olam yidor adam b'makom rabbo. A person should live in the place where the Rabbi lives. Shekol zman Shimon ben Gera kayam, because as long as Shimon ben Gera was alive, he was the Rabbi of Shlomo HaMelech. Go nasa Shlomo bas paro. Shlomo didn't intermarry. He didn't marry. It's a question. Well, he did exactly. She converted, but he didn't. It was bad. She continued to worship idols. He did not marry the daughter of Paro until after his Rabbi Shimon ben Gera died or was killed. But it says don't live in the same place as your Rabbi. So Lokash is not a contradiction. One is if you submit yourself to your Rabbi. If you submit yourself to your Rabbi, to his teachings, to his musar, so then it's good to live with him in the same place as him. But if you don't listen to him anyways, so then you're better off not living with him, because he's just going to tell you what you're supposed to do, and you're not going to listen. Then you're going to be worse off. You're going to be better that you're a shogeg, that you don't know, than that you're amazed that you purposely don't listen to him. And so if a person's not going to listen to the Rabbi anyways, so then they're better off it's better that they don't live near him. Amar Ravuna bar Yudah Amar Rabbi Menachem Amar Rabbi Ami. What is the meaning of the pasuk? Ve'ozvei Hashem yichu. Those who abandon Hashem will expire, will be destroyed. This refers to what does it mean to abandon Hashem? If there's a Torah being read from and you leave the shul. Now Rabbi Yabo nafik ben gavra la gavra. Rabbi Yabo though would leave between aliyos when the Sefer Torah was closed. They weren't reading from it. Then it's okay. It's when it's open. It's a disgrace to leave the room when the Torah is being read. Bayir Papa asked, "Being psukal psukim. What about between two psukim?" And maybe the Balkori pauses. It's open. He's reading, but he pauses. So is that considered ozvei Hashem? Is that considered abandoning Hashem? Teku. Mar says that question stands. We're not sure. Rav Sheshis Mahader Ape Begars. Now Rav Sheshis would turn his head away during Kriyas Torah and he would learn. Amar, he said, Anan b'didan v'inu b'didu. We will learn ours and they'll learn theirs. So he felt while they're, I guess, reading from the Torah and learning that, he can learn something else. Tosfos is bothered because there's a Gemara in Sota that says that when the Torah is open and being read, you can't speak even in Divrei Torah. So how could Rav Sheshis learn? So Tosfos brings a number of possible answers. He says maybe it just means you can't read out loud. You can't learn out loud, but you can learn quietly. So when it says in Sota you can't learn while the Torah is being read, it means out loud, but you're allowed to learn quietly. The Rif says otherwise. The Tosfos quotes the Rif who says If there's a minion listening to Kriyas Torah, then you could learn. But if there's not a minion listening, then you can't learn. And when Rav Sheshes learned, it must be there was a minion that was learning, that was listening to the Torah. Then he says another answer from the Rif, that maybe Rav Sheshes was unique. Rav Sheshes was Taraso Naso. He learned all day long. That was his trade, all day long, nonstop. So somebody like that doesn't have to stop for Kriyas Torah. But everybody else would have to stop learning for Kriyas Torah. Tosfos concludes that, the Rif says that Anar Mistaber Lan Ki Hayterutz, thinks that that's the best teretz, which would mean that we should not be learning during Kriyas Torah, only if Tarasum Naso, if learning Torah is our trade, we're doing it all day long, so then we can continue to learn during Kriyas Torah, but otherwise we should be listening to the laning. Thank you for listening. We will pick up here next time.